Hey everybody, welcome to this lesson on dialogue copy. What is dialogue copy? So in this program, you have been learning about what to say in terms of copy when you're doing ads and emails and all that good stuff. However, what about when you're speaking on camera? So yes, you could use very similar frameworks that I've already shown you to say stuff on camera. However, I'm going to show you another framework that is very similar, but it will give you an easy go-to for all of your potential videos. And this could be anything from Facebook ads to lives. And I'll give you some tips in terms of what to do depending on if it's an ad or a live, etc. Now, that said, once I get done showing you the blueprint, I am then going to show you not only what to do, but how to do it well and how to make sure that on camera you maintain people's attention. All right. So first, let's dive in. So this is what it looks like. So it is a 5-part process. So first we have either a problem ask or an IPI. An IPI is a identifying pattern interrupt. So let me explain what each one of these is. And you probably already know if you've looked at the rest of the content in this program. But a problem ask is simply that. Do you have this problem? Are you struggling with X? Do you need more Y? So for instance, something like, are you trying to fit into your wedding dress or struggling to fit into your wedding dress? Is your webinar not converting? Is your copy not doing as well as you'd like? Does your ad account keep getting shut down? Are you unhappy with how your clothes look? You just can't find the right style. Problem ask, okay? The reason we do this, and let me just break away for a minute. Let me just say, when most people do videos, right, whether it's a Facebook Live or whatever, this is how they usually start out, right? This is how it goes. Hey everybody, thank you for joining me. By the way, if you're watching live, type #live. And if you're replay, type #replay. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Where are you tuning in from? All this stuff that ultimately doesn't mean anything, right? And unless they are watching at that moment, no one cares, okay? Think about it. When you do a live, you might have, say, 100 people watching. If you have a decent audience, you have 100 people at one time watching. But over the next week, that video may get 3,000 to 5,000 views. Who do you think, how many? I mean, this is what I don't understand about that, right? Why? Why are we trying to do all this unnecessary stuff for 100 people when an additional 3,000 to 5,000 people are going to see it and are not going to want to hear that stuff because they're not watching it live, right? This is for live videos as well. Again, it's just boring. Like, nobody cares, all right? And I understand #live, #replay. I understand that is to get engagement, people commenting, so it spreads. Totally get that. But you know what's going to create much better engagement? Good content, okay? Not #live, #replay. I'm sorry, but unless you take literally 3 seconds to say that, by the way, if you're on here live, say #live, replay, #replay, and you move on, unless you just do it that quick, it's a waste of time. And even that is kind of a waste of time. I have seen people for 2 full minutes talk about hashtags. Like, stop, all right? As well, fidgeting with things, where are you tuning in from? You're from Kansas. Great. Congratulations. I'm from Florida. Who cares? It's irrelevant, unnecessary real estate that you're taking up, all right? What people care about is getting their problem solved or learning something. Where are you from? It's useless, all right? I don't do it. And if I do it, the only time I do it is if it's on like a live webinar that I only intend on doing live. And that is its sole purpose. If I have any reason to do it, to keep that video, replay that video, make that regular content, I don't do that. I get to the point, all right? I don't care where you're from. And let's face it, you don't care where I'm from. Nobody cares, all right? So let's leave it out. So I say, do you have this problem? And in of itself, that is an identifying pattern interrupt, because what an identifying pattern interrupt means is it's something designed to get your attention, but only get the attention of my ideal prospects, right? So for instance, let's say I was teaching a golf course or golf tips. If I'm sitting in my bedroom and I'm like, hey, everybody, welcome to the live. How you doing? Today, we're going to talk about golfing. I'm like 10 seconds in before you realize this is about golf. But if I'm standing on a golf course, or at the very minimum, if I'm holding a golf club in my hand and you're a golfer and you see that I'm holding a golf club in my hand, your brain is going to send signals to the rest of you that says, hey, this is something to do with golfing. You're a golfer. You might want to pay attention. Okay. So you must always give them a reason to self-identify as what the beginning of that video captures their attention through self-identification. If you're a golfer, hold up a golf club. If you're making money, stand in front of a nice house or in front of a nice car or something, or in a nice suit or whatever. Like you'll never see me in a closet doing a Facebook Live or doing an ad. I'm always in my nice big office at my house with, showing in the background, displaying that I'm wealthy, because I'm not doing that to be braggy. It's just, if I'm trying to teach you how to make money, don't you think it'd be a good idea to show off the fact that I make money? Otherwise, why would you listen to me? As well, if I'm teaching you how to lose weight, should I be in a big sweater that doesn't really show my body type? Or maybe I should be in a tank top with my muscles popping out, or maybe I should be in a gym, right? Because if I'm interested in lifting weights and I see a guy on camera in his closet, I have no idea he's going to talk about lifting weights. But if he's in a muscle shirt and he's in his gym, or there's a gym behind him or something, or maybe he's wearing a shirt that says like Muscle Bros or something, whatever, I at least know, hey, this might have something to do with what I'm interested in, lifting weights. All right. So you must have not just a pattern interrupt, but an identifying pattern interrupt. Right? So you can't just go, hey, look at me. Yeah, that'll get people's attention, but that'll get anybody's attention. Do we want anybody, or do we want your ideal customer? All right. So we start with that, get their attention. And then we move to the introduction with credibility. Now you might think, well, Dan, what happens if I'm doing a live or a video to my existing audience? Well, let me tell you this right now. To think that everybody knows your entire message and knows who you are is quite insane. In fact, it is standard practice for many marketers that are smart to always remind their audience who they are and why they're here. Because think about it. Let's say you're doing a video and you want more reach. Well, more reach means new people or more of similar people, right? So let's say let's say you say, oh, hashtag, hashtag this, tag a friend. Well, if they do that, their friend watches the video, they don't know who you are. So always include a introduction with credibility, and at the very least, you're reminding your existing audience why they're listening to you. Always pretend that people have never heard anything you say. I see these lives all the time. Remember last week when I talked about this? No, because I didn't watch your video last week. Not 100% of your email list, 100% of your audience did not watch that video. So I don't know what you're talking about. Therefore, I'm disinterested. Clicking, I'm going to go watch South Park. So you have to include that. So for instance, is your webinar not converting? Hi, I'm Dan Henry. I'm the founder of GetClients.com. See, 5 seconds, I've already got through 2 boxes. Now, why do I say I'm Dan Henry and I'm the founder of GetClients.com? It's because I spent a lot of money on a domain, GetClients.com, so that instead of me having to say, I've made millions of dollars, I can say, I own GetClients.com, which is kind of credible, because if you think about it, you pretty much have to be pretty good at what you do to buy a domain like that. All right. So that's one of the, by the way, just a little hidden gold nugget here. That's why I bought that domain. I bought it so that I could be more compliant in my ads and not say, hi, I'm Dan. I've done $10 million with webinars. Instead, I say, hey, I'm Dan and I own GetClients.com. If you think about it, if somebody owns GetClients.com, they're probably pretty good at getting clients because they've got enough clients to be able to buy the domain GetClients.com. So it's like subliminal authority without me triggering the Facebook cronies that will say, oh, it's not compliant. However, if you don't have that little trick that I just mentioned, simply saying, I'm so-and-so and what I'm about to show you, I've taught to over 5,000 of my personal training clients. Or I'm so-and-so and I've helped over 5,000 people get their body in shape. Or I'm so-and-so and we've sold over 17 Amazon stores at a 5x profit or a 5x multiple. Or, hi, I'm John, and last year we sold over 100,000 products on Amazon. Try to stay away from income claims if you're doing a Facebook ad. If you're doing a YouTube ad or a Facebook Live, something like that, you can say pretty much whatever you want. Point is, mention something brief that establishes you as credibility and not just some schmuck. Because anybody can get on the internet and say, hey, listen to me. But if you say, hey, listen to me because of this, at least you have given them a reason. Maybe they don't believe you, right? Because I know what you're thinking. Well, maybe they won't believe me. Yeah, but at least they're engaged enough to go, well, I wonder if this guy is telling the truth or not. And then they still listen. Maybe they look you up. Then they look you up, they find out it's true, and then they listen. Point is, you can't just say, hey guys, hashtag replay, hashtag live, where are you tuning in from, blah, 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 for 10 minutes and expect people to pay attention to you. Not going to happen. Problem ask or identifying pattern interrupt, quick introduction with credibility, what they will learn. So when you do the what they will learn, this is what they're going to get out of it, right? So for instance, does your webinar not convert? Hey, Dan Henry here, founder of GetClients.com, and we have sold over 5,000 copies of our program with just one webinar. In this video, now we're here, right? Now we're here. I'm going to show you the number one thing or the top 5 things or the one little trick that I use to instantly increase my webinar conversion rate, whatever, right? So now I am earning their right. I'm earning the right for them to listen to this. And this, the content could be an hour, could be 5 minutes, could be another minute, whatever. The point is, if I do this part correctly, everything you see here, I will have earned the right for them to listen to me. A lot of people ask me how I do Facebook Lives and keep virtually 100% of the people on the whole time. If you ever watch me do a Facebook Live and it's a couple minutes in and you notice there's like 150 people on, when the live ends, there's usually 140, 145, 135 people on. Most people's lives, there's like nobody on, right? It's because of a lot of things, which I'll cover after this. But one of the main things is I do this 3-part process here, and I do it well before the content. I earn the right for them to listen to the content. Now, notice these 2 things right here. Tag or share, ask. What is that? So, hey, this is Dan, or hey, is your webinar not converting? This is Dan Henry, and I've sold over 5,000 copies of a single program with webinars. In this video, I'm going to show you the number one thing we learned that increased our webinar conversion rate. If after watching this video, you find it helpful, tag another marketer or share the video real quick, right? Don't do this at the end of this, because the amount of people that will get all the way to the end versus the first 30 or 15 seconds, way more people here. So let's say in the scope of this content, right? Here's the content, right? Let's say it's like 20 minutes. Let's say your prospect only gets to here, but it's really good content and they got value out of it. They may tag or share. But if you ask this here, they're not going to, because they never heard it. All right. So I always ask it really quick. Hey, if you enjoy what I'm about to share, then go ahead and tag somebody. And a lot of times they will tag people right here. This is where the tag will happen, or the share. All right. Now you do want to be careful when you're running an ad, because when you're running an ad, Facebook can limit your reach based on artificially manipulating engagement. And the rules are not super clear on that, but what that means is if you, at least the way that I understand it, is if I say, if you like this video, share it, that should be okay. But if you say, I'm going to give away a free prize to a random person that shares this, that is against policy. However, that doesn't mean that if you follow policy, your ad won't get flagged because they will mistake it. So I would A, be careful, or B, say it real quick, or C, try it, see if it gets limited reach. And if it does, just edit that out and run it as an ad, okay? But if you're doing anything else, then asking them to, so if you're on Facebook, ask them to tag or share. If you're on YouTube, ask them to leave a comment. Whatever it is, problem ask, introduction with credibility, what they will learn, and then a quick, hey, let me know in the comments below, or if you like this video, let me know in the comments below what your favorite part was, something like that. I see this on comic book YouTube channels all the time. So they'll be like, hey, this is John from Nerd Whatever, today we just got news in from our reporter that this thing is happening in the Batman universe. So that's introduction with credibility. By the way, a YouTube channel on comic books is not necessarily going to follow this pattern. So the point I'm trying to make here is, regardless of what they do at the beginning, I notice on popular comic book YouTube channels, they'll say something like, before they get into the content, they'll say something like, by the way, who's your favorite Batman? Let me know in the comments. All right, now let's get to the video. So they may not follow. Of course, they're not going to follow this because this is for selling. This is for marketers. This is for getting them to do an action. Whereas YouTubers, there's a little bit different of a play there, especially if you're not directly selling something and you're doing something more for like Google AdSense. So don't think that if you see a successful YouTube channel that doesn't follow this method, that's what you should do. What I'm simply saying is that a lot of successful YouTube channels will not ask for the share or the tag at the end. They'll ask for it at the beginning so more people see it, and it'll be something simple and they'll get more engagement that way. That's the point I'm trying to make. Okay. That said, the content. All right. So this is like anything else. If you look at the other parts of the modern day copy training, the value, the hook story offer, hook value offer, all that stuff, either the emails, the testimonials, the value framework, the story framework, you can use all of that here. But essentially, if you're telling a story, what you want to do is you want to follow a very simple framework of, here's what was happening in my life. Here's the current situation. This was my goal. This was my plan. Here's a bad thing that happened that interrupted me, slowed me down, whatever. Here's how I solved it. All right. So for instance, in this formula, you could say, if I was talking about my business, I might say something like, so I'll run through the whole thing. Are you having problems making money with your webinars? Problem ask. Hi, I'm Dan Henry, founder of GetClients.com, and we've done over 8 figures with webinars, or we've sold this many products with whatever. In this video, I'm going to share with you the #1 thing that increased our webinar sales exponentially. If you find this valuable, tag another marketer, whatever. Content. So when we first started out with our webinar, we were doing very well, but we were only spending a little bit of money on ads. And then as we increased it, our margins went down. Cost of advertising went up, margins went down. So I started looking at my funnel, trying to figure out how to fix it. So what do we have there? The current situation is we're running ads to our webinar funnel. The thing we want is, more profit because expenses were going up. So I take a look at our existing webinar, and the plan was to see how we can squeeze out profit. That was the plan. And so what we did was, and I'm going to continue the story now. What we did was we looked at our EverWebinar platform, and we found that a lot of people were not seeing the videos, or the thing wasn't loading, or there were just tons of errors. And so we attempted to fix this, but it was very difficult because there were bugs in EverWebinar that couldn't get fixed. No matter what we did, it wasn't displaying correctly on every browser. So again, what's stopping us? And then I say, so what we did temporarily was we put it on a separate funnel where we just took them directly to the webinar right after the landing page. And we were going to figure out later how to make EverWebinar work. Well, then we checked it after 30 days and we found that our webinar conversion had actually increased by double by simply taking them from the landing page to the webinar, and we made way more money. And it was at that moment that we had an epiphany. And this is where this is what happened. The epiphany was that customers want what they want and they want it now. If our message is good, we need to put as little things in the way of in between our customer and our message as possible, meaning less friction. And so in the end, we made more money with less expense and less complication by doing it this way. So I just told a story of how we had a webinar profit issue. Our plan was to go in and try to fix it. We wanted more sales. And when we tried to fix it, we found no matter what we did, we couldn't get it to work for everybody. So we put it on a simple page temporarily while we were figuring out how to fix it. But that temporary fix actually ended up being a much better option. And the lesson we learned from that was reduce friction. It's less software, less tech, more great messaging. All right, get it to the customer as easy as possible, and therefore that was the end result. And we doubled our conversion rate. And so now we moved to the call to action. The call to action is: would you like to see behind the scenes of how we set this up? Go register for my webinar, right? Or let's say I'm doing a Facebook Live. It could be as simple as, hey, next week we're going to be launching this free report, or hey, want a case study, go here, or whatever it is. Maybe you're hyping up something that's coming. Maybe there's something for them to go and do right there, or maybe you want them to book a call. Maybe you want them to watch a webinar. Maybe you want them to subscribe to your podcast, or honestly, maybe you want them to leave a comment. Like, for instance, I've done Facebook Lives before where I did this process, and I went, hey, do you have problems with your ads? This is Dan Henry, and I've done this. Here's what you're going to learn. I'm going to show you a new way to do ads. I tell the story. And then my call to action was, for those of you who think that you can't do this, in the comments, let me know why. And so that was the call to action. And what ended up happening was I got all of these objections that allowed me to come up with new marketing videos to send to my list to overcome said objections and make more money, make more sales, book more calls, etc. So it doesn't necessarily have to be go watch this webinar. It could be anything that you want them to do, any action. That's why it's called a call to action. All right. So again, we problem ask, or we do an identifying pattern interrupt, give an introduction with credibility, tell them what they will learn. If you want, you can do a short engagement ask here. Give them the content usually in a epiphany story format. And that epiphany story format, and I'll just write it out here, is going to be, and there's multiple ways you could do this. I've heard multiple people talk about the hero's two journeys and the epiphany bridge and all that stuff. Honestly, just follow don't overcomplicate it. All right. Current situation, right? And so we start with the current situation. We define the goal. So we define the goal. We mention our plan, whatever our plan was. And then we talk about the trouble we had, right? Like, what was the trouble we ran into? Okay. And then we come up with the solution. And then finally, the results. I've heard many marketers explain this multiple different ways. They describe it as the current situation, the goal, the plan, the conflict, the solution, and then they break it off where it's like the transformation, the results. And yeah, you could get, but I've seen so many people get confused by that. And so linear is, to me, much better. The current situation, define the goal, the plan you had to get to the goal, what trouble you ran into, the eventual solution you had, and the end result. Okay. So for instance, current situation was our webinar was getting sucked from profits. The goal was to make more profit. The plan was to go in and try to fix EverWebinar and fix all these bugs. The trouble we had was no matter what we did, because the software was so complicated and had so many features, it was impossible to fix. And so the solution was a very simple on-demand instant webinar funnel, and the results were doubled conversion rate. Now, when it's all said and done, if you really want to glue this together, you then add the moral. Okay? Moral of the story. So in that same thing, doubled our conversion rate. Moral of the story is less friction means more sales. You know, simplify, simplify. Okay? You can add the moral. You don't always have to add the moral, but it does help glue this whole thing together if you add the moral. And then, of course, we move to the call to action, which is to get more information on the solution. Okay, so current situation was I wanted to lose weight so that I could, you know, I was overweight. My clothes, my wedding dress didn't fit. I was getting married in 45 days. The goal was to fit into my wedding dress. My plan was to work out all day, every day. The trouble I ran into was we were planning the wedding, and so we didn't have time. The solution was I found out about intermittent fasting, and when I did that, I lost you know, a ton of weight, and I was able to fit into my wedding dress. The moral of the story was that you can lose weight without taking up a bunch of time. The call to action is going to be to learn more about the solution, which was intermittent fasting. So perhaps you're selling some sort of intermittent fasting for brides masterclass. Okay, so that's how that would all work in there. This will work for Facebook Lives, for YouTube videos, for Facebook ads, etc. Now, I have in this program a YouTube ads framework, not YouTube videos, YouTube ads, that is much more tailored for ads, because the way YouTube ads works is, you know, people are constantly clicking next, 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 or skip video. And so that one is specifically designed for that. It follows very similar framework, but it's tailored for that. This is universal for anytime you do a Facebook Live, you do any sort of content video. Okay, any sort of video you send out to your email list, or even overcoming an objection. Let's say you're sending out videos to book calls. You can use this to overcome objections. Okay. You know, like let's say they're like, oh, well, I can't buy your stuff because of this reason. And then you go through this whole thing. And in this is, here's their reason that they had, but then you talk about the solution, the results. And if they want to learn more about the solution, they go and book a call or what have you. So that right there is Dialogue Copy Secret Blueprint. As far as how to perform this well, how to speak on camera, I'm going to give you some quick tips on that. So there's a lot of things that make people easy to listen to. Those are things like tone, inflection, cadence, rhythm, things like that. So for instance, if I were to sit here and say to you, hi guys, my name is Dan Henry, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to do this thing. So that way you can learn how to do this thing. And yeah, you're going to tune out, right? However, if I use rhythm, and I always say the Captain Kirk method. If you ever want to learn how to do rhythm, how to use rhythm in your voice, go watch some old Star Trek episodes and pay attention to Captain Kirk, because he always uses really awesome rhythm that, even though it's very awkward to hear, you just can't stop listening to it. Beam me up, Scotty. Okay, so you'll notice that he has rhythm to what he's saying. He pauses before saying things that are important. You know, he has a certain rhythm to his voice. And so, for instance, instead of me saying, hey guys, what I want you to do right now is click the link included with this video and register for the webinar, I might say, all right guys, so what you want to do now is click the link. It's somewhere in this video, enter your best email, and I'll send the training right over. Now, you notice how that was much more engaging to listen to? It's because not only did I add rhythm, I added inflection, meaning you take the tone of your voice and you vary it in your words. So instead of saying something like, click the link it's included with the video, and register. I can say, click the link, it's included with the video. I change the inflection of my voice, right? Imagine if you were listening to a song and it was the same riff the whole time, the same guitar the whole time. It would just be very boring to listen to. That's why songs have verses, choruses, and they have melodies that go up and down, right? Nobody wants to listen to a song that sounds like this, that sounds like this. There is a melody. It goes up and down so that it's pleasurable to listen to. It's the same thing when you're talking on camera. You have to add sort of a melody to your voice. See, I just did it there. You have to add sort of a melody to your voice. I didn't say you have to add sort of a melody to your voice. You have to add sort of a melody to your voice. Melody. Okay? And you do also with your hands, right? I get fun of all the time for how I talk with my hands. My whole life I was made fun of it. And those same people that still made fun of me are still assistant managers at Pizza Hut. Just saying. So don't think that by talking like that or using your hands to speak that it's weird or awkward or whatever. It makes people pay attention, right? It makes them pay attention. So if I were to say, you want to bring your voice up? I went like that, right? To signify up, all right? So with your hands, your tone, your voice, change the inflection. Pause before important things. Also, cadence. Cadence is another thing. So for instance, in school, when I went to college for audio engineering and music, we learned about perfect, authentic cadences. So if you ever heard the end of a section of a song or the end of a chorus or just the end of the song, you notice how at the end of a song, it sounds like the end of the song? If the end of a song went, ba-ma-ma-ma, you'd be like, well, where's the next part? But if it goes, bum, 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 cha, you're like, oh, that's the end of the song. You just know, and that's called a perfect, authentic cadence. So for instance, if I'm telling you to register for my webinar, I wouldn't say, click the link and register now. I would say, click the link and register now, right? I wouldn't say, click the link and register now, because now it sounds like I'm going to say something next. But if I say, click the link and register now, okay, got it. And what happens is your brain, when it hears that perfect, authentic cadence, it rewinds the last second of what you said and processes it again. Did you know that? Yes. So if you're listening to something and you're not quite paying attention, but there is a perfect, authentic cadence, your brain actually reprocesses what was said and you actually retain it. All right. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the way you speak is just as important of what you say, right? You ever heard that saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it? Well, it's similar to that. So again, you don't want to have a bunch of ums and ahs on camera, and that's very hard. I still struggle with that. You also don't want to be monotone, meaning you talk at the same tone like this all the time. You also don't want to constantly have to think about what you're saying. If you do, at least use it in a way where it sounds like you're being rhythmic. So for instance, most people when they're trying to think what to say, they're like, so then you want to do this. When you could, still thinking what you're going to say, so John, what you really want to do is you want to do this thing. See, even though you're still thinking about it, you sound professional. You sound like you have confidence, because that's what it's all about on camera. If you sound confident, people will listen. So for instance, watch this. If I were to say something like, if you actually send people directly to your webinar, instead of making them pick a time, you'll make more money. And we learned that over $10 million in sales. That is really good information, what I just said. But because I said it all funky and without confidence, you probably won't listen. Yet if I said something like, listen, if you want to learn to jump from one building to the next and actually fly as a human fly, all you have to do is dream every single night that you can fly, and eventually your brain will come up with enough electricity that it'll allow you to fly. Now that's complete BS. I just made that up. Please don't try it. You will die. But the point is, because I said it with confidence, you pay more attention and you almost wonder like, wait a minute, is that true? All right. So you have to speak with confidence, with rhythm, with cadence, and with proper tone. The way I got good at this, and I had a little bit of an extra advantage. My father was a radio announcer. So I always used to listen to my dad constantly how he spoke, and I would monkey see, monkey do. I would mimic it. I noticed he would talk with pauses, and he would raise his voice when he said something important, and he'd lower it, and he'd do it randomly at times, so that at all times, no matter what he said, and then he'd add whispers and stuff to make it even more cool, you always paid attention by varying it up. See what I'm saying? So if I could break down how to do that, but honestly, the best way to do it is to watch and listen to other people that do it and mimic them. And eventually your brain will teach you how to do it. So here's one example. I used to be very nervous on camera, and you could just tell I wasn't confident. So what I started doing was I started watching Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler movies. And they had this really this super just out there personality where no matter what, they were just vibrant, right? Like Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey. And I would start mimicking them. And I would even do it to my friends, and they'd think I was weird. But I remember the first time I said, hey, listen to my Jim Carrey impersonation. Somebody stop me. And it was like terrible, right? And they were like, dude. And then eventually I got it so good that I was like, somebody stop me. And that's still terrible, but it's enough to where when I need to go register for this webinar, instead of saying, all right, and now register for this webinar, I say, click the link, enter your best email, and register for the webinar. I'll see you there, right? You see what I'm saying? I never would have got that way if I didn't constantly listen to my dad, if I didn't constantly mimic famous actors, if I didn't, listen to people that I thought sounded good and try to mimic them and sound like them. Now, you won't end up sounding like them. You'll end up sounding like yourself if you were more vibrant on camera, if you were more vibrant with your speech, all right? It will naturally come off in your own way. You're not going to listen to Jim Carrey, walk around and start sounding like Jim Carrey. You're going to sound like you with a more vibrant personality, all right? And that's what really engages people in video and in voice, is having a vibrant personality that's easy to listen to, that is fun to listen to, that doesn't make you bored. Because if this whole time in this video training I was talking like this and I was showing you this, you'd be pretty bored no matter how good the information was. But if I show you exactly how to do what I've done to be good on camera, then you might listen. You see what I'm saying? Okay? So you can add in some whispers. You can add in some, upper and lower inflections. Upper inflection, lower inflection, okay? Pauses. I'll see you there versus I'll see you there. See what I'm saying? So this, what I'm telling you right now, may be enough to show you how to modify your voice to get people to pay more attention to you, but I highly recommend that you go watch speakers, podcasters, actors, people that are paid to sound good with their voice, and listen to how they speak and mimic them, right? Mimic how they speak, and eventually you will learn how to say things and keep people interested. See what I'm saying? All right, guys, that is Dialogue Copy Secrets. Can't wait to see your progress on this. Talk to you soon.